the path to Sothapanna, the first level of enlightenment, as per Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra and the Sothapanna Sutra. In addition to that, I am also quoting information from Dveda Vitakka Sutra, Vitakka Santana Sutra, Ratana Sutra, and the Chutta Sutra. All these sutras I have taken from the oldest Tripitaka in the world, which is kept at the British Library. This Tripitaka has been written down over 1200 years ago, 1200 years ago, sorry, 2100 years ago. That was 456 years after Lord Buddha passed away. At Alulena Rajamahawihara in a village called Matula in Kegal district, Sri Lanka. How it came to the British Library in London is a very interesting story. I have explained that before, but if anyone likes to know the story, I can explain it again. Please ask me during question time. I will deliver the sermon for about 1 hour. After that, I will give you 2 hours to ask any questions. So during the question time, feel free to ask any question up to Sothapanna, but not beyond. Now, the information that I'm explaining to you from that Tripitaka sometimes might slightly differ from what you have learned already. That is because the Tripitaka at the British Library is the only one that has been written by Arahat monks. And as I said, that was over 2100 years ago, and that is complete. And the Tripitakas that were written down later are not as complete as the old Tripitaka. Now, for example, if we take the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, in addition to, before I read the old Tripitaka, I had read the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra in 4 Tripitakas. That's the Sinhala Pali, we have 2 Tripitakas. One was written down 65 years ago for the Buddha Jayanti in 1956. And the other one was written down in 1990s, in the recent past. And then there are 2 English Tripitakas available in Sri Lanka. One has been written down by Ray Davies, an Englishman, and the other one, the famous American monk who was in Sri Lanka for a long time, Bhikkhu Bodhi. Now, in all those 4 Tripitakas, Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra is given on less than 4 pages. Only the summary is there, whereas the old Tripitaka that they have at the British Library, that gives the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra over 48 pages. So obviously, there could be differences. The old Tripitaka first carries the summary, and thereafter it explains all the important points in the summary in detail. So that is the reason why you might find differences from what you have learned already and what I am explaining now. So if you find any differences, please don't develop anger, resentment, or arguments against it. Just practice the principle that Lord Buddha explained in Kalama Sutra. In Kalama Sutra, Lord Buddha said, don't either believe or disbelieve what I say. Just listen to me carefully, remember all this information, take them home, go through them and analyze them using your intelligence and wisdom. And at the end of the day, if you find them correct, you can take them, make use of them, practice them, and you will get results very quickly. On the other hand, if you think it's wrong, if this information is wrong, then you can leave it out and carry on with whatever you were doing before, but don't develop anger, resentment, or arguments against it. So I'm making the same kind request from all of you. Right. Now, as we always do, let's start with observing Panchasila, and then we will meditate for 5 minutes. Then I will deliver the sermon for about 50 minutes and give you 2 hours to ask questions. Let's start with observing Panchasila. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dhammang saranang gacchami. Sanghang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Adinnādāna veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Kāmesu micchāchārā veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Musāvādā veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Surameraya majjapamā dattāna veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Next, we are going to meditate for 5 minutes. Can you all please sit comfortably, either on a chair or on a cushion or on the floor, whichever you find more comfortable. You can lean against the wall if you like. Try and keep your back straight. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath and let it out very slowly. Please repeat that 3 times. While staying in the same position and still keeping your eyes closed, please repeat this Karmasthana meditation sentences after me. May all living beings and myself be healthy. May all living beings and myself be happy. May all living beings and myself be free from worries. May all living beings and myself be free from suffering. May all living beings and myself comprehend the 4 noble truths. May all living beings and myself finally attain permanent happiness in Nibbana. Let's repeat once more. May all living beings and myself be healthy. May all living beings and myself be happy. May all living beings and myself be free from worries. May all living beings and myself be free from suffering. May all living beings and myself comprehend the Four Noble Truths. May all living beings and myself finally attain permanent happiness in Nibbana. While staying in the same position and still keeping your eyes closed, can you all please repeat those Karmasthana meditation sentences in your mind for 3 minutes, please? While staying in the same position and still keeping your eyes closed, please take a deep breath and let it out very slowly. Please repeat that 3 times. Rashmi, are you joining the Dhamma discussion today? Now you can slowly open your eyes, sit comfortably, and get ready for the Dhamma discussion. Right. As I explained at the beginning, in this series of Dhamma discussions, I'm explaining and we are discussing the path to Sothapanna, the first level of enlightenment. And I started, let me just quickly recap what we discussed so far. This is the 4th session in this series. So in the first 3 sermons, I started with the Chutta Sutra because in Chutta Sutra, Lord Buddha explained the importance of becoming Sothapanna. Because he explained in detail, if you don't become Sothapanna in this life, after that, there's a 99.999% probability that one will end up in the 4 hells. So it is absolutely necessary to become Sothapanna in this life. But don't worry, it's not difficult to become Sothapanna. All you have to do is learn correct Dhamma as Lord Buddha explained in the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, which I am explaining to you. Practice that path and you will get results very quickly. Becoming Sothapanna is not difficult at all. Becoming Arahat is a little difficult because one has to make a lot of sacrifices to become Arahat. But becoming Sothapanna is not difficult at all. So I'm not going to explain the Chutta Sutra in detail here. If anyone wants to know more about the Chutta Sutra, please ask me during question time. And I'm more than happy to explain the Chutta Sutra again in detail because we got 2 hours. Then on the second day, I started explaining the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra. Firstly, I explained the summary. In the summary, now it's important to go through the summary again quickly for you to remember, because it's important to remember this summary, Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra. That's why Lord Buddha has given that summary. And it is very, very important. It explains beautifully and very logically, step by step, as to how to become Sothapanna. So the most important points in Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra are, first, Lord Buddha says, Pubbe ananusutesu dhammesu. I'm explaining you the Dhamma that you haven't heard before. Then the next point is, he says, Chakkung uddapadi, Jnanang uddapadi, Panya uddapadi, Vijja uddapadi, Aloko uddapadi. Meaning that once I have understood this Dhamma, I got the vision of Dhamma, I got the knowledge of Dhamma, I got the wisdom of Dhamma, I got the science of Dhamma, and I became aloka from loka. In other words, I saw the light from the darkness. Sorry, before that, one more point I forgot to mention. Lord Buddha said, if one is to understand this Dhamma, one has to do 3 things first. Come out of Kamasukallikana Yoga. That's living a life of luxury, indulging the 6 senses, eyes, ears, nose, body, tongue, and the mind. and also come out of Attakilamatani Yoga. That is the other extreme where people give unnecessary suffering to the body to see whether they can develop their wisdom that way and comprehend the truth about the world, which is Dhamma. Dhamma is the universal laws or the natural laws. Buddha Dhamma is the natural laws or the universal laws that Lord Buddha explained. Then he says the third one is you have to come to Majjhima Patipada. Majjhima Patipada, most people have incorrectly translated as middle path. It's not middle path. Majji means getting drunk of Raga, Dvesha, Moha. Ma means completely eradicating. Patipada is the path or the system or the way. So Majjhima Patipada is the way to eradicate Raga, Dvesha, Moha completely. Then Lord Buddha says Majjhima Patipada is the Noble Eightfold Path. The Noble Eightfold Path are Samma Ditti, Samma Sankappa, Samma Vacha, Samma Kammanta, Samma Ajiva, Samma Vayama, Samma Sati, Samma Samadhi. Now you will see here the word Sang is appearing in all 8 folds. Samma Ditti, Samma Sankappa, and so on. And also this word Sang appears in Sankara, and then Sang Uda, Samudaya, the reason for suffering, Sang Udaya. Like that, the word Sang appears in more than 50 different important theories of Buddha Dhamma. And it appears more than 1,000 times in the Tripitaka. In fact, that is the word that appears the highest number of times in the Tripitaka, Dhamma words. So it's very important to know the meaning of this word Sang. Different Tripitakas give different meanings, but the correct meaning you can understand by referring to the last 3 words of the Lord Buddha. The last 3 words of Lord Buddha were Appamadena Sang Pahadeta. Appamadena means, in Sinhala we say Appramada. Appamadena means without any delay. Pahadeta means remove, eradicate, get rid of. And Sang, what did Lord Buddha ask people to eradicate without delay? Raga, Dvesha, Moha, Sang. So the word Sang refers to Raga, Dvesha, Moha together. Because those 3 come together always. Where there is Raga, the opposite of that is Dvesha, it's there. And the condition changes, the Raga becomes Dvesha. For example, if you love someone with Raga and that person changes, it changes to Dvesha, anger. And why people have Raga, Dvesha? Because of the Moha. Moha is not knowing the 4 noble truths. So Lord Buddha said those 3 things one has to do. Then he said Chakkung Uddapadi, Jnanang Uddapadi, and so on. Then he says the Noble Eightfold Path. Then Lord Buddha says, in order to come to the Noble Eightfold Path, to become Samma Ditti. Now, Samma Ditti means, Sang means Raga, Dvesha, Moha, Ma means completely eradicating, Ditti means the vision. So the person who has come to Samma Ditti, he has got the vision of how to eradicate Raga, Dvesha, Moha. He has a clear understanding without any doubt whatsoever as to how to eradicate Raga, Dvesha, Moha. But he hasn't done it yet. By the time he comes to Samma Ditti, he would have eradicated 30 to 40% of his Raga, Dvesha, Moha because he has a good understanding, but he has a long way to go. So Samma Ditti means, Lord Buddha said, that person has 4 knowledges. Dukkhe Jnanang, Dukkha Samudaya Jnanang, Dukkha Nirodhe Jnanang, Dukkha Nirodhagamini, Patipada Jnanang, Ayang Uchati Bhikkhave Samma Ditti, Lord Buddha said. So that means a person who has come to Samma Ditti has these 4 knowledges. I'll be explaining that as we go on. This is just a summary. Then he says, Samma Ditti is the first fold of the Noble Eightfold Path. And once he has come to that, he has completed the first fold of the Noble Eightfold Path, and there's no way of going back. So that person is called, the title given to that person is Sothapanna. In Sri Lanka, in Sinhalese, we call it Sowan, but the word that Lord Buddha used in Magadhi language or Pali language, whatever you call it, was Sothapanna. Sota means Nibbana Marga, Apanna means arrived at. So the person who has attained Sammaditi has arrived at Nibbana Marga. That's why he's called Sothapanna. So he's got 4 Buddha Jnanas. A Samma Sambuddha has 73 Buddha Jnanas. And a person who has attained Sammaditi and become Sothapanna has 4 of them. That's Dukkha Jnanam, Dukkha Samudaya Jnanam, Dukkha Nirodha Jnanam, Dukkha Nirodhagamini, Patipada Jnana. I will explain them in detail later. Then also Lord Buddha said that person has eradicated or got rid of 3 out of the 10 bonds that binds a person to this samsara. The 10 bonds are Sakkaya Ditti, Vichikicha, Silabbata Paramasa, Kamaraga, Patiga, Ruparaga, Aruparaga, Mana, Uddacha, Avidya. Don't worry about all those. At this stage, Sotapanna stage, all you have to understand is the first 3, what a Sotapanna person would have eradicated. That is Sakkaya Ditti, Vichikicha, Silabbata Paramasa. I will explain them in detail as we go on. Then Lord Buddha says, in order to come to Sammaditi, one has to understand the 4 noble truths. And in Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, he says, Idanko panabhikkave dukkhaṃ arya saccam. The first one. Dukkhaṃ arya saccam means the noble truth of suffering. Then Idanko panabhikkave dukkha samudayo arya saccam. That is the reason for suffering. Samudaya means sang, uda. Sang means raga, desha, moha. Uda means originating. How suffering is originated. Then he says, Idanko panabhikkave dukkha nirodho arya saccam. That is out of suffering, the noble truth of out of suffering. Then the 4th one, Idanko panabhikkave dukkha nirodhagamini patipada arya saccam. The way to come out of suffering, the noble truth of the way out of suffering. Then he says, if one is to understand the 4 noble truths, there are 3 things one has to do. That's Kalyana Mitra Sevana, Sirisaddharma Shravana, Yoniso Manasikara, Dhammanudhamma Patipada. These 4 I explained in some detail earlier in the I think 3rd sermon. If anyone wants to know them again, please feel free to question me during question time, and I'm more than happy to explain them again. So that was the summary of the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra Lord Buddha gave. Then also in the last discussion, we discussed part of the first noble truth of suffering. Lord Buddha says, Idanko panabhikkave dukkhaṃ arya saccam. Jati pi dukkha, jara pi dukkha, vyadi pi dukkha, maranam pi dukkha. Soka parideva dukkha domanassa upayasa pi dukkha. So that's 9 types of suffering. Then pi yehi vipayogo dukkho, api yehi sampayogo dukkho. So that's 11 types of suffering Lord Buddha explained that arises as a result of attachment. Attachment could be with raga, attachment could be with dvesha, attachment could be with moha. So attachment with maitri, karuna, mudita, upekka is good. Attachment with raga, dvesha, moha is bad. Excuse me. Then Lord Buddha says, Yampi ichang nalabati tampi dukkha. Now, this is very, very important. All these 11 types of suffering, as well as all the other sufferings that human beings undergo, are due to yampi ichang nalabati tampi dukkha. Yampi ichang nalabati, what does that mean? If we are attached to something, and if we can't have it the way we want it, that causes us suffering. Or if we are attached to something and we are getting the opposite of it, it's the same thing. We are not getting what we want, and that is suffering. That is due to, that is raga and dvesha, and that is due to moha. So all that I explained in the last sermon. And then where I left was, I said, Sankittena pancha upadana skandha dukkha. So Lord Buddha said, Sankittena pancha upadana skandha dukkha. Now this is where the most important part of Buddha Dhamma lies in. Pancha skandha and pancha upadana skandha. So it's very, very important to understand this area quite well. So I'm going to spend 2 or 3 sessions explaining in detail Pancha Skandha and the Pancha Upadana Skandha. Now let's see what is Pancha Skandha first. Pancha Skandha means Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. Now let's see what they are. Rupa, if you take Rupa, Lord Buddha said there are 6 types of Rupa that comes to our mind. Rupa, now, anything that our eyes can, the 6 senses brings this Rupa to our mind. So anything that our eyes can see outside, our eyes are like a camera. Eyes cannot think. They just take a photo and send it to the mind. So what the eyes can see, Lord Buddha call it Rupa Rupa. Then our ears can hear sounds. Lord Buddha called it Shabda Rupa. Then our nose can smell smells. Nose can feel smells. And Lord Buddha called it Gandha Rupa. Then our body can feel. If someone taps on our shoulder, we can feel it. Lord Buddha called it Pottabha Rupa. Before that, anything that the tongue can feel, Lord Buddha called it Rasa Rupa. Because when we eat something or when we drink something, our tongue feels the taste. It cannot identify the taste. It will send the message to the mind. Mind will process it and identify the taste. In that process, we will learn as we go on. Most people think that the tongue can feel the taste. Actually, tongue feels something, just like the eye see a picture, it takes a photo and sends it to the mind. Similarly, tongue sees a picture or food or drinks, whatever, it just sends it to the mind. In the process of transfer, there's the place called Sanya. That is the place where identification is done. We will come to that. So whatever the tongue feels is called Rasa Rupa. Whatever the body feels is called Pottabha Rupa. Then there's a certain part of the mind that takes information or data, if you like, takes data from our past memories. There's a place where our past memories are stored. Past memories of previous, Lord Buddha says 91 kappas. Kappa is an incalculable number of years, more than trillion, zillion times, zillion times, zillion. So 91 kappas, what we did, what we learned, what we spoke of, everything is stored in our past memories. So from time to time, our mind takes data from the past memories and start processing them in the mind. And that's called Manorupa. So there are 6 types of rupas. So that is the rupa. So the second stage is Vedana. Vedana means when we send a rupa to the mind, mind feels something. Something came in. Whether it came through the eyes, ears, nose, whatever the six senses it came through, the mind feels something coming in. Rupa Vedana. Third one is Sanya. Then the mind will identify what it is, whether it's a living being or an object. For example, whether it's a human being. If it is a human being, is it my mother, father, brother, sister, relation, friend, outsider, stranger, enemy, whoever, or an animal. It could be a dog, cat, pig, horse, elephant, whatever. Or it could be an object, car, house, tree, river, mountain, whatever. So the sanya means identify. So the first stage is rupa, second stage is vedana, third stage is sanya. This is very, very important. Please listen to this carefully. And if you don't understand, please question me during question time. As I keep repeating, I am more than happy to repeat several times until you fully comprehend these principles. So Rupa Vedana Sanya, then once the mind got the Sanya, if the mind is attached to the item that came to the mind, once he had identified it, and it will start thinking about it. So if it thinks with raga, dvesha, moha, that's called sankara. Now, our mind works like a central processing unit in a computer. In fact, the computer has been produced on the basis that Lord Buddha has explained how the mind works. For example, the six senses are the entry points. And the data that goes to the central processing unit is the mind. And the data goes to the central processing unit are rupa, rupa, shabda rupa, gandha rupa, rasa rupa, pottabha rupa, and mano rupa. That's the data. So once the data goes into the central processing unit, our mind, it has two programs to process this with. The first program is called prajna, and the second program is called vijnana. Now, prajna program is 100% maitri, karuna, mudita, upekka. Now, I'll explain those four words because they are very, very important. Then the other program, vijnana program, is full of raga, dvesha, moha, 100%. So let's see what is maitri, karuna, mudita, upekka means. Those are wholesome qualities that a person has. When he puts them into action, they become wholesome action, and wholesome action will earn him merits and also improve his wholesome qualities. So Maitri means the thought of doing something good for someone. Let's say if you see a beggar on the road and you feel like giving him something, that's the Maitri thought. Doing something good for someone without expecting anything in return, of course. You're not expecting anything from the beggar, are you? You just give it to him. Karuna is compassion. So when you see the beggar, you have compassion. That's why you feel Maitri. So these things go together. Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka go together. Raga, Desha, Moha also go together. So Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka is wholesome, and Raga, Desha, Moha is unwholesome. So you saw the beggar first. You feel compassion for him. So you got a Maitri thought. Maitri is love. In English, they say loving kindness, equanimity, and sympathetic joy. I don't like to use those English words because they give wrong meanings. English language does not have words that gives the identical meaning of the Magadhi words that Lord Buddha has used. Magadhi is a unique language, and no other language has those has words that gives the exact meaning of those important Magadhi words that Lord Buddha has used for explaining Dhamma. In Sri Lanka, what we have done is we have absorbed these words into our language. So to a Sinhalese person, if you say Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka, they get a good understanding of it. Whether they knew Buddha Dhamma or not, they understand because it's part of the language. That's why it's easier for them to understand Dhamma. So, Maitri Karuna. Karuna is compassion. Mudita is be happy for others' happiness, others' joy. You like to see something good happens to the beggar. That's why you give him the money and you feel happy about it. The beggar will say thank you or lots of merits to you, or he will wish you, or he will at least smile at you. You feel good about it, right? So you feel happy for others' happiness. That is the opposite of jealousy. So mudita is the opposite of jealousy. So those first three are not difficult to understand, but the fourth one is little more difficult. No, there's no rocket science in it, nothing impossible, but little, because it's different from the other three. Upekka means when something good happens to you. For example, you passed a very important exam and you feel happy about it, you enjoy it. But if you keep thinking about it all the time and, enjoy it more and more in your mind, then you develop an attachment towards it. Then your mind becomes inclined to expect that sort of things happening to you all the time. That's why people who take drugs keep going back for drugs. Alcoholics keep going back for alcohol because they want it to happen all the time. They're attached to it. So developing an attachment is not good. Whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. Let's say you pass an exam, you develop an attachment and you keep thinking about it. That's not good. You can enjoy that moment and forget about it. If it comes to your mind again, okay, you enjoy that moment, forget it. Don't keep thinking about it, wasting your time. And also the opposite of the same. Let's say you lost your car and you forgot to insure it and you can't get any money back. You lost it forever. So you will inform the police, inform the insurance company, whatever you can do within your capabilities to recover the car, you will do. And if it doesn't work, okay, you feel sad about it for a while and then you forget about it. Don't keep thinking about it every day and worrying about it and blaming yourself or blaming others for not insuring it, because it's not worth it. It's not going to do any good to you. It will do only harm and no good. So upekka, you can say maintaining a balanced mind. Whether something good happens to you or bad happens to you, you enjoy it for the moment or you worry it for the moment and forget about it, right? Don't have an attachment to it. Excuse me. So that's Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka. That is very, very important. A person who has developed Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka qualities to the maximum level and eradicated Raga, Dvesha, Moha qualities is an Arahat person. So he'll be thinking, he will only use that prajna, the Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka produced the program called Prajna. Now, let me explain it to you this way. If Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka is the battery, those are the four contents of the battery. The power that is generated by that battery is called Prajna. And that Prajna is capable of processing data in the mind and producing information. So if Prajna program is used, Arhat person always will use the Prajna program to think. Every time when Rupa, Vedana, Sanya comes to his mind, he'll be thinking using a Prajna program. So that's not a Sankara. Sang is Raga, Dvesha, Moha. Sankara is thinking with Vijnana program, which I will come to that. So if you use the Prajna program, that is not Sankara. That's called Visankara. Lord Buddha said, Visankara gatang chittang tanhayang kayamajayasi. So the opposite of Sankara is Visankara. So Arahat person will 100% of the time when he thinks, he's thinking with Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka. Instead of doing Sankara, he'll be doing Visankara. So when you think with Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka and do Visankara, few things will happen. Firstly, your Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka qualities will improve. There's a place in our Chitta Santana, which I will explain. These qualities are stored, qualities are accumulated throughout our samsara. So every time when a person thinks or processes information with the Prajna program or thinks with Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka, or construct a thought with Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka, several things will happen. Especially three things will happen. Firstly, he will improve his Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka qualities, and by doing that, he will increase the power of his Prajna. Prajna is the thing that will help him to comprehend Dhamma. Secondly, every time when a person thinks, constructs a thought with Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka, he'll be releasing positive energy into the environment. Now, when the car is running, through the exhaust, it's putting out some smoke. Similarly, when we think in our mind, we are releasing either negative energy or positive energy. So when we think, there are two ways in which we can think. We can either think with Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka or Raga, Dvesha, Moha. So if we think with Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka, we are releasing positive energy into the environment. And that energy will be beneficial to every living being. Living on the planet, every plant and tree living on this planet. And Lord Buddha said that is the greatest merit one can earn in this life. The comparison Lord Buddha gave was, he gave a simile. He said, if one offers 1,000 Sangadana to a Samma Sambuddha plus his disciples, 1,000 times offers dana, he says that carries a lot of merits. Very few people in the Gautama Buddha Sasana, only 3 or 4 mentioned in the Tripitaka, who had the opportunity. Kings and very rich people. However, all that merits one would collect by offering 1,000 dana, Lord Buddha said you can collect even more merits by meditating, by practicing loving kindness meditation correctly for 5 minutes. Because when you practice loving kindness meditation for 5 minutes, you are releasing a large quantity of positive energy into the environment for 5 minutes, and that will be beneficial to every living being living on the 31 planes, uncountable number. An uncountable number of trees and plants will be benefited. And that merit is greater than the amount of merit one could earn by offering Sangadana or Dana to Samma Sambuddha and his disciples 1,000 times. So just imagine, that's why loving kindness meditation is so powerful. And in Metta Sutra, Lord Buddha said, Nahijadu Gabbasayam Punaretiti. If you keep practicing loving kindness meditation, you will be able to become Anagami or even Arahat. Nahijadu Gabbasayam Punaretiti means you will not come to a mother's womb again. Otherwise, you will not have a birth out of a mother's womb, which means you will be either born in a good Brahmaloka or in fact, it's or a good Divyaloka also. So we will come to all that later. Don't worry about it. So here what I want to explain to you is the meaning of Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka. We will I'll take those 4 further in the next step. Now let me go to the other side, the negative side, raga, dvesha, moha. Now let me remind you again, I know I explained raga, dvesha, moha earlier, but it is so important because this is what we are trying to eradicate even in the last moment, few seconds before passing away to Parinibbana. Lord Buddha talked about the raga, dvesha, moha, and he said, appamadena sampadeta, eradicate raga, dvesha, moha without any delay. So that's the most important thing one should do. So to eradicate raga, dvesha, moha, all what one has to do is practice Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka. Loving kindness meditation alone is powerful enough to go all the way. Now in Sothapanna Sutra, Lord Buddha has explained 4 meditation techniques to practice after becoming Sothapanna, to go further from there. And he has recommended Metta-anusati, Marana-anusati, Asubha-anusati, and Buddha-anusati. Metta-anusati is Metta Bhavana, Maitri Bhavana, loving kindness meditation. It is so powerful. Excuse me. So the negative side, raga, dvesha, moha. Now raga means developing an attachment due to desire, deep desire. Attachment with someone or something because what you get in return. For example, if you are attached to your parents because of what you are getting in return, then your attachment with this raga, that is not good. But if you are attached to your parents with Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka, if you understand Dhamma, your attachment to parents will change from raga, dvesha, moha to Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka. So that attachment is not expecting anything in return. It's all about giving. You want to give love, kindness, equanimity, and sympathetic joy. Teach Dhamma to your parents. Do your best. You are attached to your parents in order to do the best for you and earn merits for you to complete your path and also feel happy, Mudita, you enjoy mudita. So that's the difference in the attachment. Raga, dvesha, moha attachment is bad. Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka attachment is good. It is very, very important to understand these things, these subtle differences in Dhamma terms. So here, on the negative side, when we say raga, we mean, now also sang, when we say sang, we mean attachment with raga, dvesha, moha. So raga is attachment due to greed or deep desire for getting something in return. And dvesha means when you are attached to something, and if you are not getting what you want, then it turns into dvesha, anger, resentment. For example, if you are attached to your parents because of what you are getting in return, and suddenly if that changes and they are not giving you what you want, and then your attachment changes to dvesha. So dvesha is the opposite side of the raga coin. In other words, there are 2 sides of the same coin, raga and dvesha. And moha is not knowing the 4 noble truths. You have raga and dvesha because you don't know the 4 noble truths. You don't know the harm that raga and dvesha does to you. You don't know how to get rid of it because you don't know how they originate in the first place. Without knowing the origination, you cannot get rid of it. So people are stuck there because they don't know the 4 noble truths. But if they know the 4 noble truths, it's not rocket science. Anyone with common sense can understand. Even a child of 12 to 14 years can understand this Dhamma and become Sothapanna. So attachment with raga, dvesha, moha is the so if you take the raga, dvesha, moha as a battery, the contents of the battery, the energy that battery produces is called vijnana. And that vijnana power, when you use that to process the data that comes in rupa, vedana, sanya, and if you process it in using the vijnana power, which the Pruthakjana person always do. Pruthakjana person is a person who hasn't comprehended Dhamma, who hasn't even come to the Dhamma path, Sothapanna path. Now, all of you are in the Sothapanna path, but Pruthakjana person is who doesn't know anything about Dhamma. So he is thinking of Raga, Dvesha, Moha all the time. And when he does that, first thing what happens is his Raga, Dvesha, Moha qualities in the Chitta Santana will get stronger. And then he'll be, the energy that he is releasing to the environment will be negative energy, and that will pollute the environment. And by polluting the environment, it will harm every living being living on the 31 planes, and every plant, every tree living on these 31 planes. So that is one of the greatest sins. That is only second to third to Anantariya Papa Karma and Aryopavada, which I will explain to you later. Third greatest sin is thinking of Raga, Dvesha, Moha. So this is the Pruthakjana person does all day without knowing, because he doesn't know Dhamma. You see, whole day, Lord Buddha said average person gets 30,000 thoughts processed in his mind. We keep getting data from the six senses all the time, but we don't take all of them and process them because we don't have the time to do that. We process minimum of 30,000. So the person who doesn't know Dhamma at all, he'll be processing the Dhamma with the thoughts with Raga, Dvesha, Moha all the time, and he keeps producing negative energy and releasing them to the environment, harming all the living beings and all the plants and trees, and earning a massive amount of sin every day. So this is the danger of people not knowing the Dhamma. Now, one could argue, Lord Buddha said, Chetanaham bhikkhave kammang vadami. Chetanaham bhikkhave does not mean what we do in our thought process. Chetana means constructing a thought. Chetanaham bhikkhave kammang vadami. So chetana so what it means is depending on your chetana. Chetana means the way you construct the thought. Now, every action that we take, mentally, physically, or verbally, originates with a thought. The first thing that we do is we construct the thought. These things take fraction of a time. We don't know those things happen in our mind. Unless we know Dhamma, we wouldn't know. So there are two ways in which we can construct thoughts. We can either construct with Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekha, which will be a positive, wholesome thought. And if we construct the thought with Raga, Dvesha, Moha, what the Pruthakjana person does whole day, that's producing unwholesome things for him. His unwholesome qualities will be strengthened, and he'll be committing sins and accumulating sins. So I think we have completed the time that is available to us today, 1 hour. So I think I will stop there, and I will elaborate it more and explain in more detail for the next 2 sessions. So I'm going to explain. So far, I have only touched Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. And next time I will explain. So I explained here how Prajna is produced and how also Vijnana produced. I'll explain it in more detail next week and continue the week after, because this is the most important area of Buddha Dhamma. Here it says, it explains how Sang Udaya, meaning Samudaya, is originated. Sang Udaya, Sang means Raga, Dvesha, Moha. How Raga, Dvesha, Moha originates in our mind, and how, what kind of results that brings to us, and why we do that. And then how to stop Raga, Dvesha, Moha originating, and how to originate Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekha in our mind. This is all that we have to do. Sabba papasa karanang kusalasa upasampada. That's all that we have to do in Buddha Dhamma. Sabba papasa karanang means eradicate all unwholesome thoughts, unwholesome deeds, and unwholesome qualities. And by constructing thoughts and continuing that thought with raga, dvesha, moha, all we are doing is construct, we are originating, we are creating unwholesome thoughts, unwholesome qualities, and unwholesome deeds. So, sabba papasa karanam, stop doing that. Kusalasa upasampada, do the opposite. Kusal means wholesome. So, develop wholesome thoughts, wholesome action, and accumulate merits. So, I will stop there now. We have gone slightly over 1 hour. 1 hour, 12 minutes actually, because we started 10 minutes later, 10 minutes late rather. So I'll give you 2 hours to ask any questions. Please feel free to ask any question up to what we discussed so far, and only up to Sothapanna. And don't go into Buddhist history and so on, because history is very controversial. And there are so many different versions of history, and history does not really help us to become Sothapanna. Our target is to become Sothapanna and protect ourselves from the 4 hells, because life is very, very uncertain. Lord Buddha said life is like a drop of rainwater hanging at the tip of a leaf, waiting to fall onto the ground anytime. So we are all those drops of leaves. We don't know when we are going to fall onto the ground. It could be today, it could be tomorrow, it could be in 10 years' time. We don't know. So all we have to do is try and become Sothapanna as soon as possible, and make sure we will never go to the 4 hells again. If you become Sothapanna, you will go to a good heaven, good Divya Loka, where you will have the comforts as well as Dhamma. And if you become Anagami, you will go to a good Brahmaloka. And if you become Arahat, you will go to Nibbana, the best place. That Lord Buddha explained in detail in the Chutta Sutra. If anyone wants to know more details about it, please feel free to ask. Okay, here we go. You can ask your questions now. Thank you.
You can unmute yourself for asking the question, or you may type in the chat box, please.
कल से ना ये बेड फटाफट फोल्ड करके फिर स्कूल में रवाना होना भैया.
Bhante, may I ask a question?
Yes, Hardika, please go ahead.
So, with regards to vijnana, normally people have thoughts, negative thoughts for other people, and sometimes obviously for themselves as well. So when someone thinks negatively about themselves, like, they feel bad about, just about themselves, really, about something they did, or just often people don't have confidence, they feel they're not doing well, they can do better. So those kind of things. So thinking negatively, about themselves, does that produce vijnana as well?
Yes, it does. Very good question. It does. That's what people do most of the time. It does. Because you see, that kind of thinking relates to continuation of this life in these 31 planes. And people are attached to these 31 planes, you see. And because they are attached to it, they keep thinking, instead of thinking of ways of getting away from these 31 planes, they are trying to make things better for themselves in the 31 planes without realizing that 31 planes involve suffering. Right?
Mhm.
Yes, the
Mhm.
answer to your question is yes. They generate unwholesome thoughts and unwholesome qualities, unwholesome deeds, and sins.
Hmm. Thank you. Thank you, Bhante.
Vandami Bhante ji. Alankar.
Namabuddhaya Chabim, what's your name, sir?
Alankar Bhante ji.
Hello, Alankar.
Bhante ji, you said in Sankara the sun means Rag, Dvesh, Moha,
Yes.
right? So in Sangha, what does that when you say Sangha?
Oh,
does the
Sangha
sun,
means, you see, Sang means Raga Desha Moha. Ga
and Ga
means
means
eradicate part of it. You know, so that's a Sotapanna person. Sangha means a Sotapanna person.
okay.
You see?
Okay.
Now, when Lord Buddha addressed his disciples, he said, Bhikkhu Bhikkhuni.
Right.
Idanko Panna Bhikkhave. Right?
Right.
Bhikkhu, Bhikkhave. That means Bhikkhuni. So he used the word Bhikkhu for all his disciples. Anyone who is wearing a robe is a Bhikkhu.
Right.
But he's not a Sangha. Sangha is a person, it could be a monk or nun, or it could be a lay person, male or female. Upasaka, Upasika. What Lord Buddha calls Sivanak Perisa. Bhikkhu, Bhikkhuni, Upasaka, Upasika. Any of them could be Sangha. Sang means Raga Desha Moha. Ga there means eradicated part of it. Because he has eradicated 3 out of the 10 bonds that binds him to samsara. So he has eradicated about maybe up to 50%. I don't know the percentages, you know, I'm just guessing.
Right. Right.
But by the time one becomes Sotapanna, I'm sure he has eradicated more than 50% of his Raga Dvesha Moha.
Okay. So Ga means eradication.
What's that, Alankar?
The Ga in Sangha means eradication.
Yes, they were actually shaken off. The word Ga there means shaken off.
So it's not a community like what you generally say, that it's a community of monks. It's not that actually. Right?
You see, these words, you know, they give different meanings in different contexts, isn't it?
Right.
You see, the word Ga, you know, when it is used with Sang, it gives a different meaning. So somewhere else it could give another meaning, you know. But the word Sang always gives the same meaning. So thought constructed with Raga Dvesha Moha.
Okay. Thank you, Bhante ji.
Thank you, Alankar.
Thank you.
Bhante ji, in the chat box, we have a question from Madam Dr. Vaishali Pagare. She says, lots of thoughts come in mind, then what to do?
Well, that's what we are going to discuss. You see, in this process, we are going to discuss first about the origination of thoughts, then the good thoughts and the bad thoughts. In other words, wholesome thoughts, Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka, how to hold on to them and practice them, and how to identify the unwholesome thoughts, Raga, Dvesha, Moha, and how to eradicate them. That's what we are discussing all the way. So bear with us, madam, and you will find out. So we have to go step by step. First, we have to explain what the wholesome thoughts and what the unwholesome thoughts are. Then how they originate, why they originate. And if we know how and why, then we can know how to eradicate them. So what we are trying to learn is sabbapapasakaranam, eradicate all unwholesome, kusalasa upasampada, develop all wholesome. That's all we have to do in Buddhism, to go all the way up to Arahathood. Eradicate unwholesome, develop wholesome. So that process Lord Buddha has beautifully explained in Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra. And that's why by listening to that sutra, the Panchavaggiya Bhikkhu, Konnanya, Madhya, Vappa, Mahanama, Saji, they became Sotapanna. And also the sutra says 330 million superior beings came to listen to the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra from 20 Brahmaloka and 6 Divyaloka. Even those who are living in bad Brahmaloka and bad Divyaloka, they get the opportunity to listen to this first sutra. And if they are lucky, they become Sotapanna. They go from the bad Brahmaloka or bad Divyaloka to a good Divyaloka. And if they become Anagami, they go to a good Brahmaloka. So out of the 330 million, 180 million became Sotapanna, it says. The sutra says. So there you are, Sotapanna or higher, those who came from good Divyaloka who were Sotapanna, Sakudagami, they would have become Anagami or Arahat. And those who came from good Brahmaloka who were already Anagami, they would have become Arahat, and so on. And those who came from bad Brahmaloka and bad Divyaloka, they would have become Sotapanna and gone to a good Divyaloka. Does that answer your question?
Yes, Bhanteji, thank you.
Any other questions, anyone?
Yeah, Bhanteji, in the chat box, we have a question from Madam Dr. Pallavi Gaikwad. She asked, if my family members are not ready to follow the precepts of Buddha's teaching.
Sorry, Nagsen, I'm losing you in the middle. Can you speak up, please?
Yeah, Bhanteji, the question is, if my family members are not ready to follow precepts Buddha's teaching, is it my unwholesome karma that I am unable to motivate them? The family members are not following the Buddha's teaching.
You see, I mean, I don't like to answer that question, but I have to give you an answer. Basically, all those things happen according to karma. Not only your bad karma, it's also their bad karma. You see? So what you have to do is now in the next stage, I'm explaining to you what Lord Buddha explained to Angulimala. The person Angulimala, I'm sure you have heard of him. And when Lord Buddha brought him and made him a monk, ordained him as a Buddhist monk, he had murdered more than 1,000 human beings, which was a huge sin. But within 3 months, he managed to eradicate all those sins and become Arahat. So Lord Buddha taught him a meditation technique which helped him to eradicate all the sins except Anantariya Papa Karma and Arya Upavada. He didn't have Anantariya Papa Karma. Luckily, he had only few Arya Upavada, for which he suffered later when he went on, begging for food. Pinnapata, people threw rock stones at him and he was bleeding and so on. He had to undergo insults from people. And those were due to, a few Arya Upavadas he had. Other than that, all the other sins he managed to eradicate. So I will explain that in the future as we go on in this series. Please be with us. And then you will be able to find out how to eradicate those sins that you have, right? And transfer your merits to your family members and try and bring them to Dhamma. Sometimes you can bring yourself. You can go all the way up to Arahathood if you are, determined. But it's not easy to do it for other people. You see, you can transfer merits to them and try your best, but best is when they are at very young age, if they are children. If they are adults, it's not easy. Changing adults' minds is not easy, but not impossible. It's a daunting task, but with children, you can do that very easily. So please bear with us. I'll be, explaining what Lord Buddha explained to Angulimala, how to eradicate our past sins, except Anantariya Papa Karma and Aryopada, which are the most serious two sins, Anantariya Papa Karma is shedding the blood of Lord Samma Sambuddha. Then killing an Arahat, killing mother, killing father, and distorting Buddha Dhamma.
Yes, Bhante. Thank you so much.
Bhante, we have a question in the chat box from Rajkumar Ambade. He's saying, Bhante ji, can you please explain how we can achieve the stage of Sothapanna, and how can it be identified that anyone has achieved a Sothapanna?
Well, the answer to your first question, that's what we are discussing now. We are going step by step to understand what is Raga Desha Moha, what is Maitri Karuna Mudita Upekka, how to eradicate Raga Desha Moha, and develop Maitri Karuna Mudita Upekka to the maximum level. That's what we are discussing, right? That's the answer to your question. So you'll have to wait until we do the last discussion. You will have to wait. You see, we are going step by step. So please bear with us. Second question, how to identify a Sotapanna person? You can only identify yourself. If you are Sotapanna, you can identify yourself, but you cannot say for sure. Only a Samma Sambuddha can say for sure whether another person is Sotapanna or not. We cannot. We can guess, with reasonable accuracy. Depending on your knowledge and experience, you can guess, but you could be right, you could be wrong. You cannot be, for sure, you cannot say that the person is Sotapanna or not. But if you become Sotapanna, you will know. Does that answer your question?
Rajkumar, you may unmute yourself.
We have 31 families joined today from 3 continents, maybe more than 100 people. That's very good to see. Now, towards the end of the discussion, please don't go away until we transfer merits and offer blessings, because that is the most important part. The Dhamma that we learn, learning Dhamma is a merit, and when we transfer merits to, once we engage in meritorious deeds, it's important to transfer merits to our dead relatives, because they will wish us well, and their wishes are very useful to us, especially if they are in good places, and they will help us to pursue this Dhamma path. So bear with us until the end of the session. I know it's going to be a little late in India and Sri Lanka, because transferring merits and offering blessings is very, very important. Otherwise, it's like, you have done all the hard work and then you haven't done the most important thing. It will double your merits, triple your merits, because it's a universal law that more you give, more you get. So more merits you give to the others, share with us, your merits will double and triple. So it's a great opportunity. Don't miss that. Even if you feel tired, even if you have to go to work tomorrow morning, those who are in India and Sri Lanka, Japan, I know Rashmi is joining from Japan. It's quite late, but please try and be with us, and you will benefit by doing that.
We have one question from Vaishali Pagare. Speaking truth seems very difficult in today's life. What to do?
Say that. Repeat that question again, Archana, please.
Yes, Bhante. This question is from Vaishali Pagare. She's asking, speaking truth seems very difficult in today's life. What to do?
Well, you see, doing anything good in today's life is difficult because the world has moved so much towards Raga, Dvesha, Moha, right? So it's very, very difficult, but it's not impossible, right? It's not impossible. Give me an example where you can't tell the truth. Then I'll tell you how to tell the truth. Give me an example.
Vaishali, you may unmute yourself, please.
Vaishali, can you give me an example?
Yeah. Vandami Bhanteji.
Hello, Namo Buddhaya, Jai Bhim.
Namo Buddhaya. Though the patient's reports are at critical level, I have to tell the patients that they are normal, they are going to be okay, and I cannot tell them the truth. So what to do?
Okay. Now, you see, now telling lies is if you tell a lie with Raga, Dvesha, Moha, that is bad and that is unwholesome, that is a sin. But if you tell a lie with Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka, that is wholesome and that is good and that will earn you merits. For example, Lord Buddha said to Prince Nanda, if you come and meditate with me for 3 minutes, I'll get you an angel from heaven, right? He showed him angels, how pretty they are. And he said, I will get you an angel if you meditate with me for 3 months. Once he started meditating, he became Sothapanna and he didn't want angels anymore. You see? So it's not the action that you do, it is the intention of the action. In other words, how you have constructed your thought. Chetana. Chetana ham bhikkhave kammang vadami. So the kamma depends on your chetana. If your chetana is Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka, if you are telling a lie to a patient, that let's say, patient has cancer spread all over the organs. And if you tell that, the patient will die quicker or it will get worse. Maybe there's a chance that the patient can be saved if the patient is happy and confident, because Lord Buddha said 70% of the illnesses are psychological. So if you want to keep the patient happy, you can say, oh, there's nothing to worry about. There's a little cancer, but that can be treated. You'll be all right, right? It's critical, but there's no point in telling the patient that the truth. If we tell the truth, he'll be even weaker and more disappointed, then he might die quicker. There's no chance of recovery. Whereas if you tell a lie with the intention of saving his life or trying to save his life, then that's a wholesome action. You are doing it with Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka, with the intention of doing something good to him. That is wholesome. Yes? Does that answer your question, Vaishali?
Yes, thank you, Bhanteji. Thank you so much. Bhanteji, I have one more question.
Yes.
Whenever I am giving dana, after that I feel that there is ego.
You feel what?
Ego is sick.
Yes.
Like I have given so much of dana. Then
Yes.
how to dissolve that ego?
You have to meditate, you see. Ego is a big problem everyone has, right? Everyone has ego. Ego is one of the most difficult things to get rid of. In fact, at the Arhat stage, the last 3 that one would get rid of, one is ego. So in order to get rid of ego, you have to understand that if you give dana without ego, you will have merits. But if you give dana with ego, it's wasted, you will get no merits or very little merits. So you have to try and gradually, you cannot do it immediately. You have to try and gradually reduce your ego. One cannot eradicate ego completely until one becomes arahat, but you can reduce it.
Thank you, Bhante ji.
See, once you give dana, you can share your merits with others, but don't go on boasting and talking to everyone and saying, I did this, that, and the other. Instead of saying, instead of describing the dana you did, you can say, I engaged myself in a meritorious deed, and please share those merits with me. And with the power of these merits, may you be healthy, happy, and so on, That way you can share the merits and offer blessings, rather than trying to tell people what you did.
Yeah, thank you. Nicely explained, Bhante ji. Thank you so much.
But if you are explaining it to people what you did with the intention of encouraging them to do the same, that's okay.
Vandame Bhante ji, Naksen.
Hello, Nagsen.
Can I ask a question, Bhante?
Yes, Nagsen.
I mean, when Vaishali asked the question, it just got clicked. So I'm asking, Bhante, is a self-respect also a form of a ego?
Well, self-respect, you see, now when you say self-respect, there's a fine line between self-respect, correct self-respect, and ego, right? Even an Arahat monk has self-respect, right? He will not go to a place where someone will abuse him with bad language, right? Because firstly, that will be, giving an opportunity for that person to create unwholesome deeds and sins. And secondly, it's not good. It's not good for his self-respect. So self-respect, in most cases, it has ego. But in some cases, very few cases, you could say, one has to have self-respect. Otherwise, if you give up self-respect completely, in this society, people will walk all over you, isn't it? For example, if you are a boss of a department, and you have so many people working under you, right? And if you, become too friendly with them, and it becomes difficult to, make them to do their job, they will try to take the advantage of you, right? So it's a fine line. Be kind to them. At the same time, you have to keep your self-respect and keep the distance and make sure that they will respect you, right? You respect them the way they deserve respect, and they have to respect you in return. If they are not respecting you, you have to sit down and talk to them and say, look, I am the head of the department and I have a duty to do and you have a duty to do. I respect you this way and you respect me that way, right? So self-respect is necessary in the society where we work in a society with full of raga, dvesha, moha. But, if we are all Sothapanna and living in a monastery, then it's different, right? We respect each other, automatically because we know Dhamma and we don't have to demand respect from anyone. So there, Raga Dvesha Moha does not involve. You see, you are doing it with a good intention. Firstly, you don't want that person to, do the wrong things and lose his job. And also you are teaching him some Dhamma in some way. He may not be a Buddhist, but you have to say, respect is something you have to earn. If you don't respect me, I cannot respect you. I cannot work with you. And, I might have to get rid of you or report you to the high authorities. So please don't make me do that. Please give me the respect that I deserve, and I'll give you the respect that you deserve. I know it's a difficult question, but you have to, toe the thin line between the two. Does that answer your question in some way, Nagsen?
Thank you, Bhante ji. So nice.
I know it's not 100% complete answer, but it goes some way in answering your question.
Thank you so much, Bhante ji. Thank you.
Bhante ji, I have one more question. Hello.
Hello. Yes, Archana.
Bhante ji, you have said that at the end of the session, we will transmit the merits in all planes. Even if we don't see how it is possible to transmit the merit in all planes?
Well, there are certain planes where they cannot receive the merits immediately, but that will be credited to their account. And whenever they come to another plane one day, they are not going to be in that plane forever. They will come to another plane one day, and then they will receive them. Sometime they will receive them. So it's our duty to transfer merits, whether they can receive it immediately or not.
I think that question was from Vaishali Pagari, I think, Bhante.
Okay. Vaishali, does that make sense to you?
Yes, Bhante ji, but how the merits are transmitted to all the planes, even if we don't see...
Vaishali, your voice is very faint. Can you speak louder or get closer to the mic or do something?
Hello?
Yes, Vaishali.
Even if we don't see the planes, how we transmit the merits in those planes, Bhante ji?
No, we don't have to see them. We just imagine them, isn't it? We can only see two planes, human plane and the animal plane, right? We cannot see the 20 Brahmaloka, we cannot see the 6 Divya Loka, and we cannot see the 3 hells below the animal hell. Out of the 4 hells, we can only see the animal hell, where animals live. That is also hell because they suffer a lot. And beyond that, there's Bhuta Loka. Lord Buddha said Bhuta Loka, Preta Loka, and hell itself. So those places we cannot see. Out of the 31, we can see only 2. But if you develop meditation, if you practice correct meditation, you will start to see good Divya Loka and maybe good Brahma Loka as well. You might be able to communicate with these superior beings. On the other hand, if you develop wrong meditation techniques, then your Raga Desha Moha goes up. And then you start seeing, creatures from the bad places like Bhuta Loka and Preta Loka. On the internet, you can see many experienced people are sharing who are practicing wrong meditation techniques without knowing that they are wrong. They say they saw, unusual kind of creature coming and talking to them or waving hands or whatever. Some of those creatures are fearful to look at and so on. That happens when people practice wrong meditation techniques, and instead of reducing Raga Dvesha Moha, increase their Raga Dvesha Moha.
Thank you, Bhante ji.
Dr. Mahesh is quiet today. You have any questions, sir? Normally you ask few questions.
Vandami Bhante ji.
Namabdaya Chabin.
Bhante ji, Madhuri this side.
Hello,
can I ask a
Madhuri.
question?
Yes.
Bhante ji, what is Arya Upavada?
Arya Upavada is if you insult Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha in some way.
Okay, Bhante ji. Thank you so much.
Good question. A lot of people don't know that. See, in order to become Sotapanna, there's only a limited area of Dhamma that you need to learn, but you must learn it clearly and precisely. You know, if the meanings are not clear and precise, then it's difficult to understand Dhamma.
Vandami Bhante ji, Madhuri this side.
Hello, Madhuri.
I have a follow-up question.
Yes.
You mentioned that Sangha would be the community of people which could include monks or lay people or nuns as well, who are Sotapannas.
Yes.
So, and as we know that Sotapanna, we cannot identify a person who is a Sotapanna or not.
Yes.
So in that case, it would be very common that we do an Arya Upvada in that case.
Yes, you see, that's why you have to be very careful when you deal with people. You see, best thing is not to insult anyone, isn't it? Sometimes there could be a Sotapanna person, his way of living is normal. You cannot know. You might work with someone who is Sotapanna. You will see him as a good person, but unless you discuss Dhamma with, you would know that he has a good knowledge of Dhamma, right? Supposing he's working under you and you get angry and start shouting at him and hurt his feelings, you see, you might end up doing Arya Upavada. That's why you have to be very, very careful. But if you do an Arya Upavada, if that person is living, and if you can go to that person in person and ask for forgiveness and transfer merits to him, wish him well, and then you can eradicate that Arya Upavada. And also, if you think that you see, that's why we practice that meditation, asking for forgiveness, transferring of merits, and wishing them well, which we will be doing later, which, I recommend to do every day. And in the last session, I will explain how to practice the path. Once we have discussed everything, all the Dhamma points relating to Sotapanna, in the last session, I explained how to practice Dhamma on a day-to-day basis to become Sotapanna. So when I do that, I say, try and, spend 2 hours a day on this. And these are the things that you have to do. And one of the things is practice loving kindness meditation. Firstly, ask for forgiveness from all the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, and request their blessings for you to comprehend Buddha, Dhamma. Secondly, you ask for forgiveness from all the living beings living on the 31 planes, transfer their merits, and wish them well, wish them Nibbana. So that helps you to eradicate any wrongdoings that you have done to others. That's what Angulimala did for 18 hours a day and eradicated all his wrongdoings by transferring merits to them, asking for forgiveness and so on. But I will explain that in detail when I come to that relevant stage.
Okay. Thank you, Bhante ji.
Vandami Bhante ji, this is Panchashil.
And now with the Panchashil.
Bhanteji, I have a question related to Sotapanna. I heard two terms. One is Sotapanna and the second one is Srotapanna Phalit, fruit.
Sotapanna?
Sotapanna Phalit, Sotapanna fruit.
Sorry,
Fruit.
I'm missing the last word. What does that mean? How do you spell it?
Fruit. Fruit.
Sotapanna fruit. That's the first time I heard. Okay.
I see. Okay. So the thing is, one is, becoming Sotapanna, but getting into the second level, I mean, the next level, that is Sadgamika. So the person has to receive the fruits of Sotapanna. So there are two terms, Sotapanna and Sotapanna Phalit or fruit.
Okay, so by fruits, what you mean is benefits, isn't it?
Yes.
You see, the moment you become Sotapanna, you receive the benefits of it, you see. Firstly, your fear of death will go away. You will not be scared to die anymore, right? And your fear for most of things will go away. And your intentions in life, your ambitions in life will change completely. Some of the things that you were pursuing, you will see them as useless, right? I know a certain Sotapanna person in Sri Lanka. Once he became Sotapanna, he had masters and PhD. He tore all his educational certificates and set them in fire. And he said, I don't need this anymore.
Understood. Thank you so much, Bhanteji.
There is a question, Bhante, in the chat box. Again, from the Dr. Pallavi Gaikwad. She asked about the fruit of Arya Upavada. What will be the fruit of Arya Upavada?
So someone is asking to explain the Chutta Sutra also. Can I do that first and come back to the Arya Upavada question?
Yeah, Bhante, please.
Or let me answer the Arya Upavada question now, because we discussed it earlier also. What exactly is the question, Nagsen?
The question is direct. I mean, what will be the fruit of Arya Upavada? What fruit can we get from that?
Yeah, the results of Arya Upavada is you will have to suffer. It's like our Gautama Samma Sambuddha. He had to suffer for 6 years in the forest, giving unnecessary suffering to the body as a result of insulting a Samma Sambuddha in a previous life. Long time ago, he insulted him 6 times. And because of that, and during that life, he did not know Dhamma, so he was an ordinary person, Pruthakjana person. He insulted the Samma Sambuddha, and he couldn't ask for forgiveness. Then after the Samma Sambuddha passed away to Parinibbana, you can't go and ask him for forgiveness in person. He's not there. So because of that, he had to suffer for 6 years. He was trying to give unnecessary suffering to the body, thinking that will help him to maximize his wisdom to the highest level and comprehend Dhamma, comprehend how the universe works. That is the reason why. So the fruit is the result of Arya Upavada is suffering. As simple as that.
Thank you, Bhanteji.
Now the Angulimala Maharahat Thero, after he became Arahat, he used to go, on Pinnapath begging for food, and people used to insult him and shout at him and throw, pieces of rock stones at him, and he was bleeding and he was hurt and so on. That is because of some Arya Upavada he had left and he had not pardoned them. So if you commit Aryapada, you have to pardon them, ask for pardon in that life itself, go to that person if it is Buddha or Sangha. If it is Dhamma, then he can ask for forgiveness in this life also. If you, obviously, if you commit Aryapada against a Sangha in this life, and you realize that, you can go back to him and ask him for forgiveness.
So the one question from Vishwadeep is, Bhante, can you tell us about Chuta Sutta?
Oh, yes. Let me go to Chitta Sutta. Very good question, because this is where this sutra, I think, is very, very important. Because here, Lord Buddha has emphasized the importance of becoming Sotapanna, right? In the Chitta Sutta, Lord Buddha explains what happens to a person when he or she dies. So by the time the person dies, if that person is already Arahat, he will go to the best place, Nibbana. Nibbana's place is a permanent place without any suffering. That is the best place, Lord Buddha said. So that's the Arahat person. Then the third level of enlightenment is Anagami. Anagami person will go to a good Brahmaloka. Now, Lord Buddha said there are 20 Brahmalokas, out of which 4 are good, 16 are bad. So those who go to, I will explain to you later who goes to the bad Brahmaloka. Those who go to the good Brahmaloka are those who have reached the third level of enlightenment, Anagami. And once they go to these good Brahmalokas, they will not come back to the human world again. They will only complete their path one day, sooner or later. How much time they takes, it's up to them. Eventually, they will complete the path, become Arahat, and go to Nibbana. So they are also okay. And the third group is, by the time they die, they are either Sotapanna or Sakudagami. They will go to a good Divyaloka. Out of the 6 Divyaloka, 2 are good, 4 are bad. Now, the good Divyalokas don't have Kamasukallikanu Yoga, extreme luxuries or extreme suffering. They have very little suffering, less than the human world, and they have Dhamma. All the Devas who are there are Sotapanna Sakudagami. So all the time they are practicing Dhamma, either discussing Dhamma or meditating, and they are practicing their path. Everything that they need will be provided for them automatically. Whatever they think they will get, but they'll be asking for the basic necessities that they want to live, because they are not bothered about luxuries. What they want is to pursue their path. So those who go to bad Divyaloka, I'll come to that. Then the next level is people who are in the Sothapanna Marga. Let's say people like you are in the Sothapanna Marga. I'm sure all of you will become Sothapanna before you die, and I wish it will happen. I'm sure it will. But let's say someone who is in the Sothapanna Marga, and for some reason, that person could not complete Sothapanna by the time he dies. So his next birth will depend on whether he will get a wholesome thought or an unwholesome thought in the last moment. The last thought, what we call Chutta Sita. So if his thought is wholesome, then he will get another chance to come to the human world in a better place, where he will have a better opportunity to become Sotapanna. He'll be born in a good family who practices Dhamma, and he will have the correct environment to become Sotapanna. He will get a better opportunity. But on the other hand, if that person, even though he's in the Sothapanna Marga, if he gets an unwholesome thought in the last moment, last thought, Chutta Sita, then he will go to the four hells. You see? So that's tragic. So that's why it's important to become Sothapanna. Once you are Sothapanna, you will never go to the four hells again. You will go to a good Divyaloka. And if you become Anagami, you will go to a good Brahmaloka, and so on. Now let's see who goes to the bad Brahmaloka. Those who practice wrong meditation techniques, and their mind becomes, unsettled type of mind. They'll be seeing all kinds of this yaksha and preta and so on. Most of the time, their mind is blank. And if they, at the moment of death, if their mind becomes blank, they will go to those bad Brahmalokas. And in bad Brahmaloka, they will not have five senses, no eyes, no ears, no nose, no tongue, no body. They only have a mind. And that mind cannot receive Rupa Vedana Sanya. So they will have no thoughts. So without thoughts, they can commit neither wholesome thoughts nor unwholesome thoughts. So they'll be living like vegetables there, only a mind, not even a body. So what happens is, because there's no suffering there, the merits that they brought will gradually run out. So they'll be there for a long time until the merits run out. Merit will run out slowly. And once the merits are over, they'll be left with the sins. And they will fall into the four hells in order to pay for the sins. That's tragic. That's what Lord Buddha explained in Brahmajala Sutra. He said, don't get caught to this Brahmajala by practicing wrong meditation techniques. That's why I always say, don't go to practice complicated meditation techniques. Just practice simple, straightforward, loving kindness meditation. That is enough for you to go all the way to Arahat. Then those who go to bad Divyaloka, people who engage in meritorious deeds and wish for luxuries in life, wish for houses, cars, wish for things to continue in this samsara. And they will get them for the merits they are earning. They will get them, but in bad Divyaloka. Those bad Divyalokas are like nightclubs. They have eating, drinking, dancing, whatnot. Everything is there. And but there's no Dhamma. And they will not understand Dhamma. So they will be just enjoying 24 hours. And when they are enjoying it, the merits will run out. Merits is like money in the bank. If you earn £1 million or $1 million and go to Las Vegas, spend a month enjoying yourself, you can run through the £1 million or $1 million and come back empty-handed. So, but that's what happens to these people who go to the bad Divyaloka. They will spend all their merits very quickly, and then they will be left with only the sins. And they will fall into the four hells to pay for the sins, you see. And once the person goes to the four hells, Lord Buddha said it will take him several kalpas, several eons. A eon is the period you cannot count in numbers, you see. It is more than zillion times, zillion times, zillion times, zillion. Even that, it is a number, but it is more than that. Lord Buddha said, Sara asankhya kalpa. Asankhya means, sankhya means numbers. Sankhya means you can express in a number. Asankhya means you cannot express in a number. So kappa or a eon is a very, very long period. So once a person goes to the four hells, he will spend there several eons. Now, we can't see the Bhutaloka, Pretaloka, and the hell itself, but we can see the animal kingdom. We can see animals don't have a developed mind, and they don't understand Dhamma. They don't know Raga, Dvesha, Moha. They don't know Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka. Their mind works with only Raga, Dvesha, Moha. They are thinking of Raga, Dvesha, Moha all the time and taking action with Raga, Dvesha, Moha, mentally, physically, or verbally, and keep accumulating unwholesome deeds and unwholesome qualities and unwholesome and sins. So once they die, they'll be born in a similar place again and again and again for several kalpas. So that is the danger of going to the four hells, you see. So that's why it's very, very important to become sotapanna in this life and stop going to the four hells. See, most of the people who are trying to become sotapanna now, they have been in the sotapanna path for several lives, most probably. And this time, again, they have got a better opportunity. They should somehow try and become sotapanna, because the danger of not completing it is in the last moment, if you get an unwholesome thought, you can end up in the four hells, you see. So that's why becoming sotapanna is not difficult. You are almost there, you see. Unless you understand this Dhamma, the importance of Dhamma, you would be listening to this Dhamma discussion at this time of the night in Japan now. What time is it in Japan now, Rashmi? 1:30 in the morning? Yeah, it is. It is
1:37 a.m.
1:37 a.m., right? So
Yes,
you
Bhante.
wouldn't be there until you understand the value of Dhamma, you see. So you are more than halfway through. So just a little push you have to give yourself. You have to practice the path. You already know Dhamma. You just have to practice it and get across this river. You see, clear the hurdle. It's not difficult, right? Just a question of practicing it. You see, when it comes to practice, I'll be explaining you how to practice it. All you have to do is, keep 2 hours a day, because, your people are living busy lives. But 2 hours a day is only, less than 10% of our time. We have 24 hours a day. If we keep 10%, that's 2.4 now. 2.4, nearly 2.5 hours. But we are not saying even 2.5 hours, just keep 2 hours a day. And within a short time, maximum of 7 months, you'll become sotapanna, I guarantee you, right? So all you have to do is keep listening to Dhamma until you become sotapanna. Once you have become sotapanna, then you don't have to listen to Dhamma. But until you become sotapanna, keep listening. Every time you listen, you will comprehend it more and more and more. Don't just listen to it once and say, right, I know everything now. I only have to practice. Don't do that. Keep listening and listening and listening. And then every time when you listen, you will comprehend more and more. That is important. And then you keep practicing it. I will explain to you at the end of this season, maybe ninth session or the 10th session, I will explain how to do the practice. So if you do that practice, you will become sotapanna. Believe me, if you do it properly, maximum of 7 months, you will become sotapanna. You will know, you will feel it.
We have another question, Bhante.
Yes, go ahead.
So Vaishali is asking, you tell we have to get rid of raga, dvesha, moha. Is ego and moha the same?
No, moha is, you see, now there are 10 things that happens due to moha, right? That's sakkaya ditti, vichikicha, silabhata paramasa, kamaraga patiga, ruparaga, aruparaga, man. Man is the ego, uddacha, avidya. So moha is a word given to all 10, not knowing Dhamma, right? And ego is one of the 10 mohas. Any other questions, anyone?
We have we have one from Mahesh.
Yes, Dr. Mahesh.
So Dr. Mahesh is asking, I hear Dhamma, but I'm not able to manifest into words.
Manifest into?
Words.
Work or word?
Words.
Words.
As a manifest into words, yeah.
Can you elaborate that question? Question is not clear to me.
Maheshji, can you unmute yourself, please?
Hello.
Hello, Mahesh.
Yeah, Namo Buddhaya, Bhante.
Namo Buddhaya, Chabim.
I wanted to ask when I listen Dhamma many times, but I tend to forget the words and with exact meaning, or if somebody asks me again, I'm at the question mark. So why this happens again and again to me?
You see, that's due to your past karma. That's why we have to practice the path. You see, if you practice the path that I give you, every day you are asking for forgiveness, transferring of merits, and wishing them well, all the living beings 31, living in the 31 planes. So it will gradually improve your ability to retain Dhamma. What you learn, you will be able to retain more and more and more and comprehend more and more.
Okay.
So it's due to your past karma, you see.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Bhante ji.
We have another question from Vaishali.
Okay.
When Samyak Sambuddha arise in the world, at what time? Vaishali, do you want to ask this question? Unmute yourself and just ask it.
Can you elaborate the question, Vaishali? It's very good,
Basically,
Vaishali. You're
at
asking lots of questions. Very, very good. Can you elaborate that question?
Vandami Bhanteji, I am asking this question out of curiosity. When Samyak Sambuddha arises in this world, human world, where were we? That I listened that Samyak Sambuddha was giving a single line and everyone gets liberated, becomes Sothapanna, becomes Arhanta by listening a single sutta. But where were we at that time?
You see, that is the danger. Most people will be in the four hells, where they will not be able to listen to Dhamma. You see? Now, Lord Buddha said, in the 20 Brahmaloka and 6 Divyaloka, total population was 330 million, right? Then in the human world, we know it's about 7.5 billion. Let's say 8 billion. So that's 8,000 million. And then what about the animal kingdom? You see, where we are standing right now, underneath, if you dug the ground, there could be millions of millions animals. We don't have to go that far in our stomach. There will be more than 1 million worms and bacteria living in our stomach. You see? So they are living in a hell. So similarly, the proportion of living beings living in the 20 Brahmaloka, 6 Divyaloka, and the Manushaloka may be about 1%. And 99%, I'm just saying as an example, live in the four hells, and they will not get a chance to listen to Dhamma. And those who are living in the Manushaloka also, not everyone came to listen to Dhamma. The first sutra, there are only 5 people. You see? But all those from the Brahmaloka and the Divyaloka, they got the opportunity to come there. Those 330 million from there. They are lucky that way. But human beings, if you don't become Sotapanna, you wouldn't know where you would be. See, that's why it's so important to become Sotapanna. I'm not trying to frighten you, but this is the truth that Lord Buddha said. Just think about it logically, you know. And if you think about it logically, it adds up.
Vandami Bhante ji.
Hello.
Vandami Bhante ji, Madhuri this side again.
Hello, Madhuri.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
Bhante ji, this is regarding my job. Since I am a dentist, whenever I'm treating a patient, it's like I'm trying to bring him out of disease. But side by side, whatever the organisms are there in the mouth, like bacteria, I'm killing them to a certain extent. So whether I'm earning a good karma or a bad karma?
Well, you see, that's a tough one again. Now, when you are treating the patient with a good intention, right? But to treat this patient, if you have to kill so many lives, if you have to destroy so many lives, that's a difficult one, you know. Why you destroy them? You see, because you want to treat the patient, right?
Yes.
But if that is the only way that you can treat patient, by killing others, you can, you know, make one person better by killing 1,000 bacteria, then that treatment method, there's something wrong with it. See, the dentistry that you know, people learn now from the Western medical system. No, Western medical system is to do with mostly killing bacteria and destroying others, destroying other life to make the human life better. But Buddha Dhamma is not like that. You see, if you look at the Ayurvedic medicine system, please don't get me wrong, Madhuri, I'm not, you know, putting down what you have learned, because you happen to be, you know, living in a country that was following the Western system, and you learned that, and you thought that is the best, and under the circumstances, you are doing the best. But in the Ayurvedic system, you know, there's no way that they are killing any bacteria to make, you know, someone better. They don't destroy any life to give life to one person. Ayurvedic medical system, if you like, that coincides with Buddhism, you know. And now in Ayurvedic system, they say everything in the human body is the balance of three things. Then they call it Sem, Pit, and Vata, the phlegm, and the heat, and Pit. I'm not sure what I think that's again the solid. Basically, that's the 6 elements. So, you know, Ayurvedic system coincides with the Buddha Dhamma. It takes into account the lives of other animals, other living beings. You know, when they treat a patient, Ayurvedic doctors, you know, if they even even they pick a leaf from a plant, they will ask for permission from the plant first. They will worship the plants, ask for permission, and then pick few leaves. They will not pick leaves unnecessarily. So that kind of, you know, respectful culture that they have within the Ayurvedic system, which the Western world does not have. Western world believes that only human life is important and other lives are not important. Destroy everyone else to save the human being. So that is the problem that dentistry If you learn from the Western system, that is the inherent problem there. You see? So I cannot tell you not to treat the patient or to give up your profession. At the same time, you know, if you are killing 100 living beings to give life to one person, you know, you have to think of the morals of it.
Right.
It's a
Bhante ji.
difficult one, you see,
Yeah.
difficult decision to make, because
Right.
we are living in a so-called modern corrupt society, corrupt system. Our, you know, traditional values have disappeared.
This will be applicable even to, you know, giving of antibiotics also, because they are also to a certain extent killing microorganisms.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So giving any kind of medication also is collecting bad karmas.